and welcome back to the Conscious Queries podcast. I am your host, Dominic Persicino. Thank you for watching. This is the podcast where we ask the questions and we take a deep dive into the looks of the different issues. So, this is my first episode where I'm on my own. I don't have any guests in the studio today, except for my very good friend and technician and producer, Serge. Serge is just going to hang out with me as I give you this podcast solo. So this is the first podcast where you've really had the chance to hear a bit more about me personally, not interviewing anybody else. So I guess this is a good opportunity to give you guys a bit of context, give you guys a bit of background on who I am and what we're trying to do here on the channel at Conscious Queries Media. So Conscious Queries Media is something I started a couple years ago. It's something that I really, I've been really passionate about, acting, movie production. Then I went into politics. I got really interested in that. I got really involved in a lot of, activism and a lot of young youth issues. And so this was something I did. And, I went to university full time for a bit. For my lifestyle, it was better for me to go part time and work for the most part because, as much as I try to like school, it's not my favorite. And, I think everybody, obviously, people are going to say, well, of course, school is hard. But I mean, it's definitely, there's a personality type, and I'm definitely not the personality type to, like to, spend hours studying a subject just to get to a few publications. And, all respect to that academia field, but it's definitely not something that I have personal value to. For me personally, it's not something I think, it's not how I want to spend my time. Really, I want to be spending my time in the real world. I want to be spending my time meeting real people and really not just being stuck in an institution just constantly theorizing and because it's all fun to do a bachelor's, but it is definitely a specific kind of personality type, an archetype of a person that goes and get their master's or goes and gets their PhD, and more power to them. We need people that are very good experts in those fields, but we also need people that are practical and are in different fields of life. So that's kind of where I am now. Ever since then, it's kind of the balance of art and science and the balance of what's practical and what you really want to do. And to be able to spend a few hours a week with you guys, it's really something that I'm able to do. And I don't need a boss to do this, so this is really great. It's a really fun time to really take the time and learn as I'm going along with all the production aspects of audio recording, production, advertising, online monetization, the gist of the future economy, especially in a post-COVID era. Do we really need another COVID update? I don't feel like I need to really tell you guys the numbers. It's not how bad it is. You don't need me telling you how bad it is. So this is a really fun experience that we're starting off. Soon enough, we're going to have 4K, so be looking out for the next few episodes. We'll be doing a bit of a few upgrades around the studio. Maybe at some point I'll do a video on, showing you around a bit more of the studio and, how I have everything set up right now. I mean, it seems that a lot of people are interested in that kind of stuff. So, I'm more than happy to help people and give free recommendations on products that work for me and that have made podcasting and doing audio production possible. Really, It's you always think that being in a small place really sets you back, but with the internet it's really not about location. And even with the algorithm, and we even with that, it's more about, you know, it's becoming democratized, where it's really, it's are you funny, or are you providing something good enough that somebody has value in it, that they listen to you. And having those eyeballs on you, having those eyes on you, having that base really sets you apart, and it makes advertisers look at you. It makes everybody kind of give you your fair share. And that's kind of the online marketplace we're going towards now, where that's the kind of market where comedians, every comedian has a podcast now. It's becoming the online norm, instead of it being everywhere in audio or Hollywood, where you have to be in Hollywood to get any jobs in the television industry. Well, now and more, we're seeing that, for tax reasons, there's at least 20 movie productions in Winnipeg in the past year, I think. And so, just that alone, it shows you that there's a lot going on in Canada. There's a lot of, opportunities for artists, for not just actors, but makeup artists, people who are into audio technician, lighting, all the things that the industry has and needs to make it possible. There's those jobs. And we even have video game producers in Canada, in Montreal, in Winnipeg, Ubisoft, and it's a good place to be. And obviously there's good tax reasons why they do that, why they come here, but realistically those make for good opportunities for companies here. And this is a really good way to do it. I really support the local industry here that's trying to make a footprint on the world, and to show that we are a place where art happens, and real talent is showcased here. And it's a very true fact. We were more and more, Winnipeg is getting the respect and distinction that internationally that it deserves, right? It's a really unique place, and it's a really good place to live. I can vouch for it. Of course I'm biased, I was born here, but I mean, out of after being able to travel a lot of places, after being able to travel across Canada, a lot of places in the United States, Europe, even Africa, it's South America. It's kind of hard to argue that Canada and maybe a few European countries, it's kind of argue that they're the best place to live in the world right now, with the benefits and the healthcare and the services. It's Canada's in a hard economic spot right now because of COVID and everything, but realistically we're in a really good position to bounce back. We're in a good position to make it out unscathed, unlike the States. I think the bigger you are, the bigger the bust. Canada, I think we have a big better chance of probably surviving and getting over it a lot faster than everyone else. But that's my hope. We can only really cross our fingers and hope at this point. You don't really know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want, you can bring the mic closer to you if you want, Serge. It's up to you. I don't have any book reviews for you this week. I will try harder to get you one in the next week's podcast. I got a couple of papers due right now, so I've been focusing on my homework before I do this. So I apologize in advance. I apologize for not being able to get you the books. The first books, I'll give you a bit of a overview of the next books I'm going to do in the next few weeks. So first one is Science Set Free. Then we have War is a Racket. That's a classic, short book, but really good speech. Then we have Godsad's The Parasitic Mind. This is one about, the Ostrich Brigade and, the idea that, the mind and ideology can really mess you up and really can affect, how you're really thinking cognitively. Everything about critical thinking. This is, how do you filter your brain? Really interesting stuff. I haven't read it yet, so I'm really looking forward to reading that. So, that's what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of podcasts. So, stay tuned for that. Because I really want to give you something worthwhile. I really want to give you, a good 15, 20 minutes of, an overview and what I think about the books on a serious note. So, we'll do that in the next episode. So right now we're just, kind of going over what we're doing right now. So, at this point we're hoping to expand with a lot more interviews, doing some book reviews, some interviews, book reviews. What else are we doing? We're really going to be focusing on the solo episodes mostly for the Patreon, but if it so happens that we don't have a guest lined up, or a Zoom meeting falls through, it's just going to be me, and I don't think there's any problem with that. You let me know what you want me to be doing. If you have any ideas you want to send my way, I more than appreciate content ideas. I don't want to go as far as doing unboxings. I don't want to do anything like crazy like that. This is this is not my style. And I think that's something really important too, is trying not to be a follower, not to be, I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. I just want to do my own thing. And as much as you want to have a niche to provide for, I'm just going to try and do what as best I can and do what I do best. And, whoever likes it. And that's really all I can really hope for, So, here you are listening to me babble. I don't really know how long I've been going on for. I started maybe like 45 minutes ago, I think. I don't know at this point. So, can't really be really too mad about that. We're gonna go. We're gonna try and I don't know how many episodes we're gonna hit by 2021, but I'm happy that we started now in 2020, because this is the year really to start stuff and to really make your mark and start really changing or doing what you want and forming your identity. Especially for me, I'm 24 now, so I feel like this is the right move, right? It's not like I'm getting any deals right now, so there's not much point on not doing anything. I might as well do something.
Yeah, and you got the setup for it.
And I got the setup for it. I got, it's not that expensive to set up. Anybody should do it, but at the same time, the world doesn't really need more podcasts. As ironic as I'm saying that, it is the marketplace of, it's kind of like the SoundCloud artist, but do we need more SoundCloud artists? But realistically, it is, everybody should be able to express their art and however they want to, and that's a good way to look at it. But at the same time, it is pretty funny and ironic to think about, watch my SoundCloud, watch my new podcast, but please do watch my new podcast. I really care about this.
I want to make a living.
Well, not even, honestly, at this point, I just want to have something to entertain you and entertain myself. And, if I can get really good discussions and really good, at some point I would really like the idea of hosting debates here. And that would be really, really interesting. I like the idea of that. And unlike mainstream debates, just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to use the tools at my disposal of nope, fake news. I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to shut it off so he can't do that anymore. So that he can't freaking talk over me.
Do you think that they should have a mute button during those presidential
debates?
Yes,
absolutely. The fact that he didn't have a mute button is ridiculous. This is the classic trope of the media wanting you to hate the entire institution of the government. They want you to hate everything about it. They wanted you to not hear and have a coherent understanding of that debate. because that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted it to be chaos. Why? Because if it would have been coherent, then people would have had to take it seriously, and we don't want that. The media wants to, you know, try to play it down and make it as ridiculous as possible, so that we can make a foolery of the system.
Right.
And that is exactly what they do by not having the ability to have a mute button and to say, hold on, he has the floor, you settle down.
It's just funny because it's like two grown men. You'd think they would,
Two
in a
grown
sense,
men.
you'd be able to let them have their 2 minutes, and then bicker for like another 2 minutes. They give them 2 minutes of
Rebuttal.
Yeah, so
It's
I don't think 2 minutes is enough. What do you
it's
think?
not enough, and that's the whole point of having a long form discussions instead of this format that is arbitrary, that was set by them because it fits into the parameters of the advertisers. Yet podcasting, we can have advertisers and still talk for 2 hours, and it doesn't stop anything. Maybe there's an ad break in the middle, but the conversation we have, it doesn't stop. It keeps going, right? So that's a big deal, right? So it's to be able to have a long form conversation where it's not cut, and you get more than just 2 seconds of airtime to argue your point, which is a ridiculous notion where, all right, 30 seconds, go. You have 30 seconds to explain your point or your policy, whatever you do. And it's like, that's not enough. This is going to be very arbitrary and, not enough information. So what can we do with that? It's, that's why people love podcasting. People love the long form conversations, because it's something you can do in the car and the working out. You can do it anywhere. You can do it when you're mowing the lawn. So that's the ease and the practicality of it is a lot better. So to be able to be accessible everywhere, that's the name of the game. Because if you're only on the radio station at one particular time and it's only aired once, you're only getting so many people. Even if you're at the top, the most popular channel, how many people are driving home right now? A few thousand. You're hitting 6,000, maybe 10,000, but that's it, because that's the only thing you're gonna get, because it's not recorded, or it's on a different schedule. So it's kind of like the idea of TV is obsolete now that we have Netflix, where it's like, well, why should I have to, pay-per-view pay, the ability to DVR your TV and pause and rewind. That's like the very rudimentary beginning to Netflix and the streaming services, right? So now you have the whole library, and you can access it at whatever point from where as long as you have the internet. There are downfalls and upfalls for everything, right? Just like, there's positives to having, DVDs right here. I don't need the internet with a DVD player. I just put it in the DVD player. I don't need to pay monthly, if I could live in the woods in the middle of the forest and have just a big stack of DVDs, and, I don't need Netflix at that point, right?
Fee.
It's a one-time fee, which, there's the pros and cons, right? There's the pros of, I don't need to have a bunch of CDs in my car, but at the same time, if there's no internet, it sucks. It's too bad for you, or there's no cell reception, or there's, something happens, or you don't. So, it's up, there has to be a kind of a balance. It's kind of, when we talk about the merch industry, and for musicians, especially, from selling LP record albums to selling CDs to now selling nothing, you sell yourself to the streaming services, and then, you can sell a little bit of merch on the side, but the main focus for real musicians, very in the game musicians, is concert sales, and performances that are sold on the radio, and those kind of licensing agreements are really where the money is, because in streaming the money is very, very low for the artists.
It's only like a few cents.
It's only
stream.
a few cents per, like the point, even the decimal points of cents per streams, right? So, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is, it's a different way of looking at it, but we'll see how it shakes up in the future, because I feel like it's still growing. It's not done developing. I feel like, now there's streaming services. I feel like maybe we'll see a new, well, what we're seeing now is Patreon subscriptions, where everybody, just like HBO, you want better content, you want commercial free content, you need to pay HBO premium special. You need to pay for those extra channels.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it seems that's,
It's kind of starting to become a lot.
and it seems, well, it's good, because in that way not everybody's watching the same thing, so it's a lot harder to brainwash an entire population, like where, there's only 3 channels on television, where it's very easy to, run the narrative that something goes on, or like have a deception campaign, as opposed to if you're competing with 10,000 other channels or things like that, right?
Yeah, and if honestly, you could subscribe to that. I feel like 2 or 3 subscription is the max of subscriptions that I'll have. So it's like I have Spotify, I would do Netflix, and I would do Crave. And you think about all the stuff you get with those 3, and how much would it cost you?
Less than cable.
Yeah,
Cable's like over $100 in Canada,
yeah,
if not maybe close to $200 a month.
yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how much, but realistically, yeah, it's all, at what level do you pay directly? You're the content provider that you like. That's your specific thing that you're into, and you don't have to pay anybody else, right? Just like, unlike cable, where you pay for the package and you get all the channels, right? So that is really, probably a lot more beneficial to you, the consumer, where you get to consume what you want. But then again, a lot that means there's a lot more TV being made. There's a lot more, diversity, where there's a lot less of a mainframe reference of pop culture, where everybody talks about a TV show, and everybody, Doctor Who, and I'm like, I've never seen that show, but like, people talk about it, and I don't get the references because I've never seen it. But, you see what I'm saying? Before, when there was only 3 channels, everyone would know the same thing. When they would get to school or when they get to work, they would talk about the one thing that was on TV, essentially. And everybody be like, oh yeah, that's right. That the baseball game that was on. Yeah, that everybody knew, because that was literally the only thing going on. Now, there's a million things different going on. So now, it's a lot harder to have that pop culture frame of reference. Not that that's a bad thing, but it is something to be aware of. It's something to, think about how, it's like maybe there's a bit less familiarity, and now your group of friends or your circles that you associate with your values, or your, the way you look at life, are not always your neighbors in real life, but sometimes they're people you met across the world on the internet, right? Playing video games on Steam, or, people that you just meet passing, online, where, you get to meet people you would never otherwise meet in real life, and you get to really get that kind of relationship with all sorts of people around the world, and get a real understanding of what's going on, form kind of a network of minds that's, sharing information about the world. And that's really interesting. Yet this could also, depending on, critical thinking, it could also become a bad thing, where you're in a group where you're in an echo chamber, where you're only with people that completely agree with you, which is also a problem. That's not a really good way to live your life, where you're never, you can't deal with having an argument, and, having different values that with your friends, or, having a difference of opinion, and then, burning the bridge with them, and, ghosting them because you don't like their certain opinions on certain policy, or whatever, kind of argument you have, or whatever kind of like, like human beings aren't perfect, and they have arguments all the time. So, to throw people away like they're not valuable, and, they're not worth your time, it's kind of unfortunate. Obviously you can't spend your time with everyone. You can't, And sometimes it is better to not engage with people. Sometimes people, they don't click, and you're toxic together, and sometimes it is for the best to not, toxic friendships are a thing. We have to be real about that, and you can't really, it's better not to let it go on. It's a real thing, and it's kind of really sad to see go on. It's really not fun to witness, and you always just have to stand up for yourself. Really, you just have to, and if people don't respect you for who you are, you're in the wrong room. Get out. And sometimes that's not easy to do, and especially if you're in a new city and you don't have many friends, it can be really, really hard. If you don't know anybody, it can be really hard to really break through, in the social circles in a different town or in a different high school if you're still in school or university. So, but, that's why you always gotta you gotta put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You gotta be able to go out there and, make those things happen so that you're able to face those uncomfortable situations where, that's how you grow as a person. You're never going to grow in your bubble. This is, one of my great teachers told me that is that there's nothing important, significant, or of value ever goes on in your comfort zone. As fun as it is to be in your little comfort zone, it's not where, real self-learning comes in. That's not where true success or, really understanding who you are or what you want to do, that's not where you're going to get it from, because it's all archetypal, it's all theoretical. You have to go out, because it's really easy to look at somebody and say, well, your job's really easy. I could do your job. That's not difficult. It's like, try doing it for 20 years and try doing it and engineering it from the right from the beginning. We like to be big talkers a lot of the time and think that we can do anything. But realistically, in a lot of fields, you shouldn't be an expert right away. That'd be kind of sad. You kind of want to start as an apprentice and get better over time, because if you have the perfection at the beginning, then what are you going to strive for you can't get better. So what's the point? You're going to always be in that comfort zone? That's not true. That's not reality. But I mean, life can be really complicated. So, I have a few other things that we want to talk about, but one big thing that happened today was, we're just having some lunch, and I get an email from Bill Gates, of all people. Bill Gates emails me. I know, I was terrified too. I was terrified, and I said, what did I do to merit this? What happened? So let me read to you this email by the none other Bill Gates. Gate Notes, the Insider Edition. This is subscription emails, if you haven't caught on already. Bill Gates, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. His new book. A few details about my new climate book. Bill Gates. We're going to just read a few lines here, not the whole thing. Although my work on COVID takes up a lot of time these days. Oh boy. I'm lucky to be able to focus on other pressing issues too. What a nice guy. He's just saving the entire world while I'm here, having lunch and making podcasts. He's saving the world. We should get him a cape. That includes our foundation's effort in health development and education as well as my own work on climate change. Oh my goodness. I'm having a hard time reading. Sorry. In fact, I've been working on a book about climate change, how to avoid climate disaster, and I wanted to share with you some new details about it. We finalized the release date, and you can pre-order it too. Or you can order it. In this book, I try to cut through the complexity, explaining the science in a clear way when I propose Then I propose a plan for when we need to do and what we need to do over the next decade. And I suggest some steps we can take to make it happen. I'm proud of this book and excited to get it out there. You can get it in the details in this, Bill Gates. So, you know, a very timely book. I don't know how fast he can pop out a book, but man, is that great. I wish I could pop out a book in the middle of a crisis, while the world's burning. I'm gonna take a couple of week vacation, go on an island and go pop out my book about how climate change needs to change.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go take my private jet back to California.
Yeah, if anyone's got time to write a book, it's our boy.
It's
Bill
our
Gates.
boy Bill Gates, And you're probably wondering why I follow Bill Gates' emails. Well, when the world ends, when not to be an alarmist, but when the world ends, I want to be in Bill Gates' good books, and unapologetically and unashamed to want to be in the New World Order and have some kind of value to them when that day comes, if it comes. I want a place in their bunkers if everything goes nuclear, And if anybody's got bunkers for the 1%, it's going to be Bill Gates. So it's probably best to get in his good books. That's why I follow his emails.
They'll let in a few guys in. They'll be like, all right, who's
Yeah.
subscribe to our.
It'll be
to our
like
news
the
channel?
Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 4, Thank you for subscribing. Now here's your code for entering the vault at Vault-Tech. You can you've been selected. But I mean, this is all just wild talking. We're not really meaning what we're saying here. So, this is the whole thing with COVID culture. The COVID era is that now there's the restaurant culture is changing. The idea of going out for dinner every night, especially in Winnipeg. Winnipeg is a very big town where there's more restaurants per capita. People hate cooking here. They're long winters. They don't want to cook. They don't want to do anything. They just want to go out to eat. And they're not able to anymore because of COVID.
Yeah.
A lot rarer, a lot more infrequent, and it's really affecting the restaurants. A lot of restaurants have closed. One of my favorite restaurants, Segovia, closed indefinitely.
Yeah. Was that on Skip or?
I don't think so. No, it's Spanish tapas. It's not something that you can
Right.
box up and send. You have to be there.
Those are
you
the
know.
guys who suffer, right? Are the
Oh,
ones
it's the really nice places that suffer. It's not
Yeah.
it's not KFC. It's not McDonald's that are suffering.
Yeah,
It's
hopefully,
it's the really nice restaurants.
hopefully they can kind of like just maybe move on, take like 2 years off.
Well, we'll
But,
see. Those chefs do have a reputation. So
Yeah.
if they do open up a new restaurant in a couple of years, I'm sure it'll do great.
Yeah.
It might not be called Segovia. It might be called something else.
Yeah.
Classic restaurant rebranding, stuff like that. But really, if they make really good a good tapas bar, then I'm all in.
Hey, yeah, and that's the thing. You build a loyal fan base. They'll come back
Right,
when they
right.
hear of the good news.
And it
So-
really sucks, right? And for somebody who's thinking maybe a restaurant would be a cool entrepreneur idea.
I feel bad.
Not right now.
I feel bad for the people who
Not for the next
started.
few years. It's not a good idea, right? So
Yeah. How long do you
It's-
think this could affect?
I really
businesses?
can't.
Even when like
2
things are
years,
healed
man.
up?
At least 2 years before you see really any economic, uptick of any kind. I think because realistically, it's going to get worse before it gets better, and we're in the thick of it. So it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get darker before the sun comes up. So you gotta just pray through the darkness, and
Yeah,
we'll
hope-
survive on the other side.
Yeah,
but-
hopefully you can make a deal with Skip.
Oh,
It's
well,
not- it's not too
now,
late. It's not too late.
especially now that COVID has the monopoly. But it's up to the companies. Some companies do their own deliveries and they do well. So, you know, it's all about getting the forming habits with customers. As long as you get customers, they make you their weekly, lunch.
Yeah. Adapt,
That's pretty much what you need, really.
and
So
yeah, you just gotta adapt with the times too. Like no one really
Yeah.
saw COVID coming, but if you can adapt to the situations, then you'll survive. Just like I've seen a few businesses that were never that I never thought would be on Skip, but they joined, so
right,
they're just adapting. with
right.
what's
Well,
going on.
that is true, but at the same time, there are some restaurants that, like, let's say Stella's. A lot of their food, I find, like, it doesn't travel well. It's like an omelet and like a salad or a sandwich. It's not something that travels well. It's like I have to be there to eat it. You can't like it can't sit in a box for 30 minutes. It'll be a soggy mess. And that is a big problem with a lot of really good gourmet food that is not just, chemically filled crap, that is a lot of fast food joints, where it can survive the apocalypse and still look edible, They put a Big Mac in a glass jar and it looks good as new.
Nothing should look good.
It should decompose after time. It should. Food should look like,
Not even food.
food is organic. It's not, it's not plastic. It's not supposed to be made of wax.
Yeah. It's like those McDonald's burgers videos.
It's yeah.
Isn't it sad that we kind of allow that?
The competition game of the franchising and all the industry. It's
funny that we allow that in kind of a
yet
weird way.
this is what the
like
people
food.
want. This is what they want.
Guilty.
A bigger Wendy's Baconator. They want a triple Baconator. Are we gonna tell them no?
No,
We're just gonna say it's $20, and there's a healthcare fee now because you're gonna be in the hospital with arteries to pump. So we're taking that into account now in your burger. I heard that the government wanted to do that. They wanted to put an extra tax on soda pop and cheese,
It's kind of like
and to say that it was it was dangerous for you. It's bad for you. Yet,
isn't that what's going on with the cigarettes?
well,
They
right. That's
tax,
what they want to do.
so
They
it's
want to
kinda like-
basically make cheese, a block of cheese,
Yeah. But that's the
have a health warning on it.
thing. How do you know which foods?
Yet,
How do you know which
what
foods to
you're
put?
gonna put a health warning on everything. A pack of gums. You're not gonna say, oh, it gives you all sorts of cancer, aspartame, or they'll come up with everything. They say that bacon gives you cancer. Well, obviously, okay, anything that tastes good is gonna not be good for you. Like, I don't know what you want from me. I don't like, oh, you have really good cheesy crackers, super delicious. Oh yeah, they're 400 calories for a handful. Oh boy. Well, it is what it is. That's kind of that's what tastes good. You want really bland, undelicious crackers. They're gonna be less than 100 calories for a handful. But what do you want? What do you want? I don't know what to tell you. I really wish I had a glass of wine here right now, but you can't always drink all the time.
No, except if you're European and you're European.
Yeah, we're not in Europe here. We can't get away with drinking wine every single day.
No, they perfected that.
Right. Well, what can we do and get away with? Can't get away with much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And when
no.
it costs like $1, you're paying $3 for an average bottle. But don't you think though that they've had it so much that they kind of just get bored of it? Like they'll like have it once a day, but when you have it all the time, they're probably like, it's so easy to get.
Depends on the personality, right? Some people have an addictive personality. Others, they can handle themselves a little bit better. They can,
have a wine glass a day, but not sweat over missing a day.
or some people, they can have a bottle and not drink for a month and not, ever think about it more than that, So that is what it is. And in that regard. So I guess I will get this Bill Gates book and read the Gospel of Gates and read
Book review.
Another book review. We'll read the plan for the next decade, because apparently he's in control of that.
Yeah, as he's flying in his jet.
He's flying in his jet. Let's be honest. If we had the jet, we would ride in it too. So, this is the whole dilemma of, climate for, we, but not for me. This is, a lot of people like to preach environmentalism, especially Hollywood celebrities. They seem to be the biggest proponent of everyone needs to put in their part, and then their ecological footprint is the size of a decent sized village in Uganda. Meanwhile, us, it's maybe like 20 people in Uganda. So realistically, they should be doing more if they're really preaching that kind of idea where your ecological footprint does matter. So yeah, if you're you should be going on not taking private jets. You should be taking regular flights. But then again, celebrities, they don't want to follow those rules, because we're all human beings and we all think we're special.
Do you think
That's the tragedy of the commons. We're all special. The rules don't apply to us. They only apply to everyone else. So this is why they tried the one of the problems with classical liberalism is, wouldn't it be nice if we could all be nice and share the farm property? Well, we could, but there's always somebody that's going to be irresponsible, and he's going to graze his cow where we said this land is for the irrigation, we're keeping it for the next year. And they're saying, well, it's just a few cows. It's not going to make a big difference. It's like, well, see, this is why we have rules. If you don't follow the rules, then no one's going to follow them. And then this is why we can never have order. We can never fix it, is because that guy thinks the rules don't apply to me. It's just a few cows that are grazing on this land. It's just not that big a deal. That's the mentality that's killing us. That's the mentality that makes socialism so hard to grasp and so hard to but at the same time, Canada has a really good balance. I find a really good balance where you have social security, you have some social safety net, we have EI, we have healthcare, we have all sorts of services that a lot of other countries don't have. A lot of other places can only dream of having the kind of mostly uncorrupt police service, a mostly very quick response of EMS and firefighters, right? Unlike most of the rest of the world, people don't realize that, they like to talk about how cops here, they want to cancel the cops here, and, they want to, unfollow me if you support the police. Well, it's like, guess what? The police is here, and they have a service they provide, and they provide it to you, person complaining, and they provide safety for you, and they have to deal with people trying to kill them all the time. That's a big problem. If you were a police officer, you would be a target of trying to be assaulted all the time. Why? Because people don't want to go to jail. So they'll run away and they'll try to get out of it. So it leads to violence. Realistically, if you're a law-abiding citizen, when the cop pull you over, when the cops get to you, you say, I'm an adult. Whatever you have on me, I can fight it in court. I can look at a judge and a jury, and I can fight my way out of this ticket or whatever. Because I'm a law-abiding citizen, that's where I fight my battles. In a court of law, because that's the justice system we have. It's going to cost me money, but I'm going to have justice. That's where you get justice. Oh, you want to get out of something? You run away from a cop? Now you've just raised your, it's going to get worse for you. That's not how you fight the system. The system is stronger than an individual. That's the point of a system. And thank God for the system, or else we'd be in the Wild West again. and we people would just be shooting each other, and there'd be no accountability at all. And is that what you want? You want no accountability? You want a, and the police state, I'd rather that than a mob state. Okay, I'd prefer that than, because the police, they have oversight. There's government oversight over them, where people elect commissioners to look over the police force, right? And they're scrutinized to the teeth. They're scrutinized to the point where, they have PTSD that we don't support. Yet, we put a lot of resources in the police. They're misused, they're misappropriated, and there is corruption going on. But we can't let that discredit an entire government. We can't just say because a few cops broke the law and we need to figure it out who it was and keep them to account, that the entire establishment needs to be put down. This is nonsense rhetoric. And, those people will never, you'll never get to these people. They don't really understand how a society really works. They don't really have an understanding on that, and good for them. Good for them. They don't, if you want me to unfollow, go, this is the kind of, really think really hard about what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, I'm burning bridges with people I know because we differ on this issue. You're going to end up with zero friends pretty quick, because you're going to find out that most people don't agree with you, nor should they. Life experiences lead you to your own personal experiences and lead you to your own conclusions. That's what life is all about, is you use your own critical thinking. Don't let others do the thinking for you. Think for yourself. And that means doing a bit more homework. That means not looking at the second sources. You look at the main sources. You want the real story? Look at the real evidence. Look at the documents. Look at the emails that we're talking about and the controversies. Don't listen to, Dave Rubin's take on it. Don't listen to, anybody's take on it. You want to be able to make your own mind on these things, especially political matter. Politics is for everyone. It's not for you to indulge in entertainment and to take it in like a form of entertainment. Politics isn't the WWE as much as Donald Trump is in it now, which is unfortunate. But we have to treat it seriously. We have to treat it like you have a voice and you matter, because it is a democracy in some way. And, as much as we don't have very many referendums, we do still have a say. We do still have a system that every 4 years we have a different government. And it's not perfect, yet we have to work at making it better within the system, because we're not, this whole idea that a bunch of young revolutionaries are going to change the system overnight and make it perfect is ridiculous. And that's never going to happen. You're only going to have, remember this is great. I really love this, because looking back now on the Chaz, the autonomous zone in the United States, in Portland and a few other states, where they took over a few, streets. Now we can look back, at the point it was very heated debating, but now we can look back in its ridiculousness and say, well, that was ridiculous to think that was going to work, and we can mock it and point at it and say, well, look at these people that are so delusional that they think that they can make a difference by, looting a few stores and causing a political activist agenda using the kind of, actions that a guerrilla militia would use, And, we go from extremist environmentalism to extreme religious extremism. We go to all sorts of extremism of ideologies, of people who set out an agenda of violence in the name of a cause. How many gun owners are in Canada that have guns, that are responsible gun owners, and they don't go out and use their guns inappropriately? So to have a gun ban in Canada, I don't know why what came into the gun policy, but here we are. gun bans aren't what we need. Canada is actually a really good system. We have a very elaborate system where if you want to purchase a gun, guess what? You need to take a course. You need to prove that you can handle a gun and be responsible and safe. And somebody that's certified has to certify you. And then you need to do a few background checks. They do a few phone calls to your connections and your family, and they say, where does your family member want a gun? Does he have any problems? They ask questions. They say, why is this person all of a sudden, and then a lot of the time it's, my family's a family of hunters. We've hunted for generations, and I want to be able to go out with my father and go hunting. Other reasons is I was an Army cadet and I really got into marksmanship. Now I'd really like to take it on professionally, maybe go to the Olympics, maybe do some competitions in marksmanship. I mean, you don't need to be a fit athlete to shoot a gun or to shoot archery. You need good equipment and you need time to practice. So, you can be in your 30s or 40s and be an Olympian sharpshooter and a marksman, right? So there's all sorts of reasons why people, or there's also legal self-defense issues, right? So there are some people that are targeted by the mob, and the police say, well, we can't be with you all the time protecting you, so we're going to give you special permission to own a firearm. So if anything goes wrong, you have some kind of protection for yourself. It's not a perfect world we live in, so that's why we have to give some leeway. We have to work out negotiations and deals, and that's what the police do with people a lot of the time. And realistically, it's a lot better of a system where it's a case by case instead of America where everybody's given a gun, or there's no certification whatsoever to get into guns, and because it's an amendment right, and that's a big problem because we shouldn't be giving guns to everybody. That's also a ridiculous notion. There should be a lot of restrictions. It should be very difficult for you to get a gun. It should be very difficult. It shouldn't be easy. And even when you do have a gun, guess what? You can't have it on your hip walking around everywhere. It has to be locked in your trunk of your car, and you can't ever leave it unattended. You have to bring it with you. And then when it's at your house, you need to have it in a gun safe, and the ammo can't be in the chamber, and it has to be in a different compartment that's also locked. These are all crazy rules that 99% of gun owners will use and do responsibly. And firearms is a tool that we use. A lot of people live in the wilderness. They need a hunting rifle. What are we gonna do? Tell everybody that lives like that to go live in cities and not to have firearms? That's inappropriate. That's not realistic. So, big metropolis areas, Toronto, Vancouver, big cities, they should be a lot more scrutinized for, what kind of gun laws there should be. But realistically, everybody should have a fair chance at getting firearms. Obviously, there should be a system as well where if you go tell your therapist that you're thinking about shooting up someplace, your therapist should have a legal obligation to report that, and then that's in your file. And then when you go ask for a firearm, they say, well, we're not going to give you one because look, you said you wanted to harm people. So yeah. But see here, the problem is as well, people don't like to talk about this in the gun policy. Where the guns come from when crimes most of the time? They're not legal guns. They're illegal, unregistered guns. So it's not really the registered gun owners that are the problem. They're not criminals. Most of them are not. So this idea that the regulations are going to save people, it's not. If a criminal wants to get their hands on guns, if somebody wants to get their hands on heroin, do you think the law stops them? Do you think it's illegal? It's illegal. Do you think that stops them? No, they get their hands on it. They do whatever they want. The law doesn't stop a lot of people. So, and this is, and we go back to it's the extremist ideology. It's the volition inside the human being that makes the action. Because realistically, you can just Google on the internet and you can make weapons. You can really make damage if you're intelligent enough and you're really mad and you want to make damage. You can, but this is the whole point. You shouldn't be psychotic enough to do that. You should. This is the idea where we need to help each other with the mental health factors. We need to help people with fighting those kind of ideologies and the extremism where we're leading people into. We need to look at those issues in those kinds of glasses instead of it being always a criminal issue. It has to be a mental health issue and a, you know, what's leading the political cohesion in America? Why is it getting to this tension now where it's at now, instead of just seeing the extremist ends and the violence on both sides and saying, well, this side clearly has to be put down. Yet one side's just going to press the other, and it's just not going to work. Something has to happen that's not been tried before, and especially in American, politics and right now. I can only hope that just, November 3rd, everything goes back to normal, regardless who wins. Anybody that studies politics is, really in a position now that the House of Commons hasn't been in session for the past 6 months. Nothing's been going on. So, and even in the United States, there's a lot of gridlock because the House and the Senate don't agree. So really, what's going on? There's not really much policy to discuss. And this is the biggest nightmare for people that care about politics. We're all just, shaking fists and swinging swords at each other when really nothing is happening. No concrete policies are passing. Nothing is really going for the people. And it's really unfortunate that, we talk about filibuster. This entire decades has been a filibuster of theatrics, not real policy, not real action. Always making excuses, making, claims that it's not as bad as it is. And it's a big deal. And, it comes to the point where Bill Gates is emailing me on a Monday telling me that, climate change is destroying the world and here's my new book. I'm going to read the book. I want to hear what he has to say.
Do you think I don't know, I've heard stuff about delays, but you cannot delay an election day, can you? Like if right now with the whole COVID. But at this point, wouldn't you just want it to
They
be done?
They can. In America, they could. They did it in a few countries where they postponed elections because of COVID. They didn't want to have an election because of it. But for some reason, they said, we're going for it. And that's why we get into the whole issue of, ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots and everything going on with that, So it's really unfortunate that the democracy of voters, the integrity of voters has become a political issue where you either want people to vote because it helps you or you want people not to vote because it helps your party. And that's the huge dichotomy that kind of really sucks in politics, where partisan politics is a politics of dividing and conquering. And, this is the idea of the majority rules all is flawed because it should be majority rules all because that's kind of the only coherent reality we can, hold to, So it seems that there's only, that solution and maybe another few ones that I can't think about right now, but, it's not as straightforward as, parties changing every 10 years and then they can really just reform the bad and keep the good from the other party. That's kind of, a rose-colored glasses view of it. It's not really what's happening. Now we're in Canada where I have to choose between the liberal and all sorts of corruption scandals and ethics violations and abolishing CBC. So that's my choices. So, it's really an unfortunate, this dichotomy of dividing people into these groups, into these, it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help Canada. It doesn't help, any country. It doesn't help people. So I don't really know. And this is a system from hundreds of years ago. So it's an old system, an archaic system. Maybe it's time to maybe rethink and reform the system, just like we do online banking now. Maybe it's time we have online voting and we have an integral place where we can vote, just as the same way where we have an integral trust in the bank, that my bank account balance is the same, when I look on it tomorrow on my bank online banking, right? We trust the integrity, that they're not just straight up stealing money from me without me knowing. They could be, but realistically, we have the trust that they are not doing that in the banking, and then that my password protects me. Yet realistically, there's a lot of hackers that could be hacking everything right now. So where do we go with referendums? And can we have an app where Canadians can go to and vote on referendum questions or vote on provincial issues and say what priorities should we have, or what direction should we be going in, what values and principles should we be promoting? This is something I think that's going to be the future. There's no way around it. And having that direct democracy link where people have a direct, weigh in referendum issues, that's kind of the democracy I want to see. That's the way I. Yet Canada's really difficult because it's very divided, by province by province. Quebec and Ontario really don't get along yet, and Alberta doesn't get along with pretty much anyone else. So it's really, really complicated when you talk about doing referendums like that in Canada, and it's usually politicians always think of it as a nightmare and not an advisable decision to do. Yet what kind of government do we want? Do we want representational oligarchy, or do we want a direct democracy, or do we want something that's a bit more representative of the people's interest, and not an arbitrary group of a few people that get really sweet jobs and get a really nice pension? So realistically, it stops affecting these people directly. So when it stops affecting people directly, it unfortunately, without even them sometimes realizing, it affects their judgment, and it affects their ability to make sound decisions and saying, no, this is the right thing to do. We need to do it this way because, or else some people are going to lose their jobs, or some people are going to not be able to pay their debts, or they're not going to be able to pay their rent on time. So sometimes you have to make those decisions, even though, you can pay your rent. It's like, well, the world isn't always about the individual. You have to think beyond yourself. You have to think as your family, think as your group of friends, think as a collective. This is a break in consciousness. This is a development in human evolution where we have to think beyond our own corporeal bodies. We have to think about what surges, emotions and opinions are. We have to take everything into account. And it's extremely difficult. It's extremely complicated. But that's definitely, I don't see it going any other way other than that, realistically. And I mean, here we are. I'm getting more podcast recommendations. I don't watch enough podcasts as it is. Yeah. We've been going on for quite a while now. Serge, do you have anything to say?
I think just November is going to be an interesting year. I hope. I do kind of
interesting election.
Yeah. And I hope we do kind of start. We let this behind. Okay, elections are done. Whoever wins, which I'm kind of scared that once, even though let's say Trump loses, why do I have a feeling he's gonna fight it? He's gonna say, or he's basically just gonna say it doesn't count because this and that.
That would be really funny if he did that, but realistically, he would probably make a very big stink out of it, but I don't believe that he would go nuclear in a lot of the ways that the Democrats
Right.
want to show him as a tyrannical figure. Obviously, it's voting season, so of course they're going to picture themselves or attack each other as being very tyrannical. Yet they're playing the politics, they're playing the game, and just like he was saying, saying he'll put Hillary Clinton in jail. She's not in jail right now. He never brought charges upon her. He's the president. He could have. He didn't.
Yeah, we have
Because
to
it's
see.
all just rhetoric. It's all riling up the troops to really get it to him on social media and rile up that kind of thing. This is why Donald Trump won, is because he's better at winning the crowd in the WWE. Okay, when everybody hated Vince McMahon, they were cheering for Donald Trump. Why? Because he knows how to read a crowd, unfortunately. But I mean, he's a true man of the people of America. When we talk about Americans, the unfortunate reality that Americans, on average, aren't the most well-educated people in the world, and as a group, they're not regarded in high regards as very open-minded or respectable people. They seem to be very imperialistic, and unless you're an American, you're an illegal alien. But I mean, that's their prerogative of their nationalist interests. But you know, we have to realize that the rest of the world exists. But that's just me talking. That's not an official American policy right there. Which you know, Americans Americans always get what they deserve. I think though, they you know they they're in a position now where it's perfect for it to change now. Now it's in a position where they can actually reform the system because it's been so ridiculed. It's been so shown for its flaws that maybe there will be some kind of effective change or some kind of reform. And especially with the next generation, people are going to demand those changes. People are going to demand that kind of thing. Because as much as people hate, they want to try and keep people dumb. We have the internet. We have an ability to educate ourselves. So it's very difficult to keep anything under wraps now. So the democratization of journalism and information completely destroyed those niche power groups that try to control everything, because it's very difficult for them to do any policy changes without everybody noticing. And people notice. Human Rights Watch, Justice Watch, people that watch policy changes, and they notice those differences, and they notice when politicians are lining their pockets with money or whatever they're trying to do. Not, of course we don't catch it all, because or else we would catch them and we would press criminal charges. But realistically, when you make the law, it's very difficult to break the law, right? You're the ones that you're making the law, so so it's very difficult to stop those people from filling their pockets if they're just saying, well, MPs get a bonus. It's in the bill, and everybody voted yes on it. So it's by the people who wanted to give me a raise. How very nice of the people to give me a raise, right? But is that fair or arbitrary? Yet then again, thinking about the amount of flights and thinking about the amount of phone calls and emails that those MPs have to respond to, I mean, I can't, pay him $100,000, that's fine. Especially even after taxes, they're not seeing most of that, so that's fine. Pay him $200K. That's not, for the fact that they're working for the public. That's good enough, because I'd rather you pay them straightforward instead of them taking bribes under the table. So if you pay him enough, hopefully he doesn't take bribes. But as humans are, they're never satisfied. Once you plateau, once you're making, just like you were saying, he's making he's making $1 million every month. Yeah, it's still not enough. He needs to be making $2 million a month, and it never ends. It always has to be more. The pool can always be bigger and deeper. And that is a scary thing about that's human mind. That's the human mind, that you have to learn about that, and see that you're not going to be satisfied with the deepest pool in the world, or this is like the fallacy of always trying to live for the future, living for I'm going to have this in the future. This is because you can never do that, because you're not going to realize that you have to be satisfied in the present, right? This is like Zen Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism. It's like, if you're not satisfied in the moment and you're not taking your breaths with full stride and you're really taking it in right now, you're never going to get that feeling. You're never going to get there, because you're stuck in your mind that it's in the future, that paradise, and that's now. That's right now. So what the fuck, whatever you want to do, you go and grab it. You go do it. Cuz no one's going to help you. No one's going to do it for you. And you want that bell, you want that satisfaction and that bliss. Learn to deal with it now. Learn to live in the moment. And it's extremely difficult, especially in the modern world. I deal with it, everybody deals with it, but realistically, you got to worry about the future, because you got to save your nuts for the winter. You have to save up money for the rainy days. You have to have financial preparations. You need to take care of yourself. You need to protect yourself. It's better to have life insurance, better to have property insurance, all that, right? It's good to have. That is a peace of mind, and it's good for the future. But realistically, right, you can't live your life, in high school saying, oh, we're going to go to university. And once university, I'm going to go get the job. And once I do the job, I'm going to get the house, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to have everything I wanted. And then I'm going to retire. And then what's after retirement is your tombstone. So realistically, you can't live in that idea that you're suffering now, and you're grinding it now for the future. Realistically, of course, you have to put in effort, you have to put in hard work to, achieve goals that you want, career goals. If you want to, be an apprentice in a field, you do have to set time aside, and you do have to, plan ahead. But that's not to say that you can't enjoy the ride. You have to look back on yourself and never have a moment's regret and saying, I could have lived a more fulfilled life in my 20s, or I could have gone out more. You have to do what you wanted to do in your 20s, right? Don't ever let anything set you back. This is the biggest thing. You could be the fattest person, you could be the ugliest person, and enjoying yourself the most, because you don't care what other people think of how you look, or whatever, those kinds of trivial things, right? The coolest people in life are the people that know how to own themselves, and how to swagger along with all the defects in life. The ability to look at yourself and say, I'm happy with who I am and what I am, and no one can take away my experiences, and that's the right attitude to have. And you don't want to be vindictive, you don't want to be negative, but you want to be, that positive attitude where, I am who I am, and, you're going to take me for all that I am. And, you have to walk with the pep in your step, always. Without that pep, you're either living in the past or in the future. And it's a regrettable way to live, I think. And I'm very happy that I learned this now and early on, instead of it being a regret in the future. And this is something you want to learn from past history. You want to learn from past generations. And to hear people in their 50s have midlife crises, and to be fortunate enough to have those same emotional, those same kind of experiences, and see the world through those kinds of lenses, through that kind of knowledge, it's so beneficial to get that early and to be like, wow, the clock's ticking, and here I am, just wasting away while I could be doing something really worth my time, or I could be doing, whatever you want to do. You have to really set your mind and do it, because a lot of the time money is a very small barrier to what you want to do. It's more your excuses that get in the way. Because no matter what you want to do, you want to be a theater, you want to be, you want to do scuba diving, whatever it is, the chances are, unless you want to be a nuclear scientist and you don't know any math, chances are pretty good that you can achieve your dreams. You can achieve some sort of, you can get somebody to pay you for what you're good at. In another way I'm saying it is, you have to find a way to, think of all the lifestyle brands. People are getting paid to be a personality. We're paying Kylie Jenner and Kim Kardashian and all these people to be a personality. I mean, this is pretty amazing stuff when you think about it. But at the same point, it's a lot better if you have some value, right? If they have some value, in doing makeup tutorials, good for them. They serve a purpose. They serve a fashion, world, culture purpose. I see that purpose, and I see the value that they bring to that world, right? Find your purpose, find your niche market, and realistically get into that. I'm into books, I'm into academia, I'm into science, I'm into politics, I'm into philosophy, I'm into political discourse and having discussions where we can debate and disagree and maybe talk about really hot topics and talk about really things that, a lot of people else would be uncomfortable with. Yet, we have to live in that world of uncomfortability if we want to get better, if we want to, this is you can't have any of the good without the bad, this is the yin and the yang principle. Without the bad, you wouldn't know what good was. You wouldn't know what it was. So we need to have that kind of dichotomy. We need to have those different ideas so that we can see them for what they truly are. But I think this has been going on for a bit long now. I think we're doing pretty good on time. So, I think I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to keep talking about some of these things in the next podcast. Next week, I got a couple of guests lined up, so we're going to, have those episodes out for you. Every episode is coming out on Tuesdays, around the afternoon. So stay tuned for those. And right now, this is the 12th episode of the Conscious Queries podcast. So, we're, slowly but surely trailing along on these episodes. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching, sticking around. If you made it this far in, I really appreciate you. So, please like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. And if you really want to support our channel even more, you can go to our Patreon at consciousqueries.com and Conscious Queries Patreon, and you can become a subscriber and support the channel that way. You get an extra episode a week, and you get the archive for $5 a month. And so, that this is going to help us get new equipment, get more, hands-on experience, and help to, have things run smoothly, have more content, and, I'll be able to review books and put a bit more time aside to work on more content for you. So, this is it. Stay chill, everybody. I'm going to see you on the next one, and I appreciate you for watching. So I'll see you next one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.